Why don't you do it and show us what you're talking about?
So,
Is that color okay?
yes, that's fine.
Okay.
So let's take a good amount.
Okay.
And we want to make sure it's, you see what I mean? You don't get the thickness that you want with,
yeah. I
it
get
just
it.
flattens out.
It flattens. Okay, I hear what you're saying. So we need to not only bulk it up, which a gel, like you were suggesting, heavy gel, which
That's
is good.
the only one that I know
It's
of.
a little heavier than this,
Right.
But it kind of has the same texture of the material. So I'm going to use some food analogies because a lot of people understand. So let's just say different textures of foods. Like there's a mayonnaise texture, right? This is a little thicker than mayonnaise. This is like a heavy salad dressing, maybe, you know, very goopy salad dressing. But then we actually want something closer to Crisco. You know, we want something that's really like paste-like, or even some toothpaste have that kind of texture. Okay, so we're trying. It's very subtle, these differences. So let's actually, just for people who are kind of new to the gels, I'm going to show a heavy gel and see if we can kind of. So this gel, it's thick, but it's not that different from the texture of this. But what I really would suggest is a paste. So there's some modeling paste. I noticed you had some on the shelf. So there's the flexible modeling paste, which I am preferring now. The original modeling paste is fantastic, but it's not that great when you're working on a flexible canvas because it can, if you build it up a lot, get little cracks in it, and it's not going to fall off the canvas, but you'll have these visible cracks, which you might not want. This is made for more of a flexible support. This is great when you're working on like a rigid board, like that, wood, or a canvas board. So both of these, though, have the same type of texture. And it may not be apparent when I just spread it out here, but we'll get the brush in it and
Which
we'll...
one dries more dull?
The modeling paste.
See, that's, yeah.
And that's what you want? No, you don't want that.
No.
Okay, so we can mix the two.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
because I know a lot of times oil paint has more of a dull sheen.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, sometimes people, like if you think of Dubuffet or someone like that, was like really dry looking paint. And everyone has falls a little differently where they want to fall on the matte versus gloss.
Sense, yeah.
Okay, so what I have here is the gel. That's actually I had a matte heavy gel, but the gloss heavy gel is similar. So for you to get the shine, I would probably mix the gloss heavy gel with the flexible modeling paste. So this is the, what did I put first? I think the original modeling paste, and that's the flexible modeling paste. Did anyone notice?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna add these in, and then there's another little thing that you might like. And this might work with your gloss gel, so we'll get to that later. I'm giving you a lot of options. So not to confuse you, but to kind of get you closer to what you will make you really happy. So let's just take some fresh paint. How about we use a different color for each one so we can differentiate them? So a lot of people say, well, how much do I add in? It doesn't really matter. You're going to have to sort of feel it out for yourself. But I think if you're trying to change the texture, but not the color, you want maybe 50-50 or maybe 40% medium, 60% color. So I'm not going to mix all of this in. I'm just going to mix part of it in. Okay, so right away I can feel under the knife it's still kind of slippery. And is that what you described, like when you were trying to do this? It's kind of slippery.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't really hold what the stroke, the brush stroke. So we're going to just go back in with a brush. And again, this might be hard to pick up on camera. It's better when you actually mix it yourself and feel the differences, but I'm going to try and describe them as best I can. So we're going to put a little bit of...
May I move this?
Yes, please do. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to mix about the same ratio. Do you see it already?
Yes.
You can.
Yes.
Okay. And I wish I had more of these kind stiffer brushes because you need to get that Van Gogh texture, you need your stiffest brush. A really soft brush like this isn't going to give it to you. You want one like these ones that I picked. They've got strong bristles that are a little bit thicker in diameter. When you brush it on your arm, you can feel individual hairs rather than a softness. Does that make sense? So in order to get that texture, you really have to pick, for acrylics, you can use, some people say don't ever use the bristle brushes, the hog bristle brushes that oil painters use. You can, but they only will give you that texture when they're really dry. Once they start soaking in water, they get a little soggy and they lose a little bit of their texture. But so they make special brushes. This is an acrylic brush. It's a Liquithick freestyle brush, and then this one, I don't have any identifying info on that one, but anyway, both of them are made. They're synthetic bristles that imitate a kind of hog hair bristle and give you extra texture. So we're going to have to clean this brush off so I can brush into this and give you a sense. Okay. Can you tell on that?
I can.
You can. Okay. So, and I'll leave this in the classroom and you can watch it dry and see the difference, you know, because in general these tend to hold the brush strokes a little bit more than the gels. They have, I think part of that is because this is pure acrylic polymer. These two have aggregates in them. There's actually elements in them that are going to hold, they won't shrink. This has more like potential for shrinking because of the water content, and then when it dries, all you have is the acrylic. This has acrylic plus, I'm not exactly sure what they use. I know in the original modeling paste they use marble dust, which is why it could potentially become brittle when it dries. So you only want to use it on a rigid support. All right, so we'll try a third color here. So there's a small, can you see a little bit of a shift in the color? Which is why I don't add too much to it.
Would that hold still after it dries?
What, the texture? Yeah.
No, the color.
Oh, the color, yes. Yeah. So that's why I think in that amount, I didn't shift the color significantly. I still have like a lot of intensity and vibrancy of the color, so I still feel okay about adding, it seemed to me like about 40% of the medium. I added a generous amount, maybe 30 to 40%. So there you can see that brush stroke, how it's going to hold that brush stroke. These are also good when you want to do, you know, scumbling or dry brush techniques. You see what it does to the paint? And so instead of slippery and slidey, it makes it, again, to me it feels a little more like an oil paint texture. Now there's one other thing. There are acrylic thickeners that you can add in. So Liquithick makes this one called Liquithick thickening gel, and we're going to add this in and we're going to bulk it up even more. We'll add it to all three just so you can compare the difference. So it's kind of fun. It's sort of like cooking in the sense, you know, you can try a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you'll come up with your own recipe. So each artist will come up with their own sort of formula. I'm not big into like exact recipes. I really like it when people experiment and try different things out, and you'll feel it. When you feel it on the brush, you're like, I love this. It feels great to me. I'm going to do that again. So now, okay, so Liquithick is a chemical thickener. It doesn't thicken by, we added a generous amount of gels that bulked up the paint. This actually is going to change the chemistry of the paint. So you only add a very small amount, usually less than 25%. So we're going to add a little pea-sized amount of this Liquithick into each one of these gels, and it's kind of fun watching it because it's kind of like magic what it does to the paint.
You said, what is it called?
It's called
Thickening?
Liquithick thickening gel. Yeah, and the only thing is they're most all the chemistry across all the brands is very compatible. You can mix all different types of paints and brands. When I brought this into my students, and some of my students were using golden paint, it didn't work. It made their paint a texture like cottage cheese.
Wow.
So I can leave some behind, and you guys can try it out and see if it works with your paints, just so you don't have to, you know, just try it a little bit to see. You know, I know it works with the Liquithick because the chemistry is so different on all the different brands. There's many ingredients that go into making up acrylic paint, and it's a kind of a complex chemistry. All right, so I'm going to add this into here, and you have to mix it a little while. So first you get this kind of pebbly texture, which you don't want. It's almost, see, the golden paint never got beyond this. They may have their own thickener that you can do this with, but I'm just saying, all I'm saying is, so can you guys tell how thick it's getting? It's really pasty now.
Yeah.
So it makes it much more like many oil paints when they come out of the tube are this thick. And or another analogy is printmaking ink, like printing ink. Those big pasty inks that you scoop out of the metal tubs are kind of like that texture. Okay, so I feel like it's kind of a mess here, but I'm gonna try and use this brush to kind of brush out and see if we can get, this is not the best brush, it's a little soft. I'm trying to get those Van Gogh brush texture. Okay, so that gets us closer, doesn't it? Okay, so let's try.
Do you want your water up there or no? Because I can move these and put. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now I'm going to mix the Liquithick with, this is the flexible one, right? I don't remember.
That's the non-flexible.
That's the original modeling paste, okay. I call it modeling paste classic because it's the first one they made. I think they made it all the way back in the 60s. Okay, so you saw how much thicker that one got? And, you know, you can intermix these too if you want something else, right? There's no reason you can't mix all this stuff together, just so you know that. It's like a little mad scientist. You try a little of this, little of that, get it how you want it. I'm just, for the purpose of the demonstration, trying to differentiate between them so that you can see it. Okay, so here we have the original modeling paste with some Liquithick, so we've gotten it even thicker. And I just want to show you, you know, you can really get big peaks with this stuff, you know. I don't have a huge volume of it here, but you know, these peaks, it can really hold a peak when you start adding these things in and getting it thicker. And now we'll add it to the flexible modeling paste. Same thing, so the cottage cheesy texture happens a little bit right away, but you keep mixing it. You have to mix it really thoroughly using your knife and scrape it down. Now you see it got creamy again. Those of you who are close can see what I'm talking about. It's a little, might be hard to see from, it's subtle. But you want to get it back to that creamy because it's a chemical change you're making, so you have to fully incorporate it. It's sort of like if you were baking cookies and you didn't mix the egg in all the way, and then when the cookies come out of the oven, there's little bits of like egg in the cookie. Like that just doesn't work. You have to mix it really, really well. So the same thing with a paint. It's just a chemical thing that's happening. So we can get this texture here, nice thick kind of Van Gogh. What do you think? Is this getting closer to what you were?
Answered my question.
Great. Okay. So there's how to get a Van Gogh like